Per usual, everything else channels for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It is Setup Sunday. Let's take a look at some charts. Got a good one today. Lots of legacy setups that haven't really been talked about too much, but in general, we kind of have two buckets right now. Charts that have bottomed and those setups have played out, and charts that have lagged. The early movers, the Bitcoins, the Nvidias, those charts, the SPY, the Qs, right? Those have already moved. So we're in this weird, awkward spot where you have to choose between staying long and strong and things that have already moved, things that continue to look good, air quotes, or rotate a little bit into some other stuff, or just do nothing, which is probably the best move for most people. But if we separate this into bullish, neutral, bearish, I can't be too bearish here. And if you're shorting near all-time highs on BTC, I thank you for your service. At some point here, we're going to break all-time highs this year, even if it takes another 15 to 20% pullback first. Just makes more sense to me to be net long up here still. Liquidity still looks great. Dollar still looks relatively weak, US dollar. The COT data, which I'll look at, is the CME futures positioning data, is about as bullish as it can get. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to get a God candle tomorrow. It is a tailwind versus a headwind. What do we usually see in price when positioning looks like this? It is bullish. End of story. Hash ribbons, MVRV cloud, power law, 2-year moving average multiplier. I talked a lot about this stuff on the last Setup Sunday, so you can reference that. I'm not going to look at most of those charts, cup and handle, price momentum, but all this stuff, there's nothing to do. If you're a long-term holder, still, in my eyes, absolutely nothing to do. If you're a trader, maybe you're rotating around a little bit, like I said, between things that have already moved and probably won't move as much in the near term relative to some of the laggards. But we still look great. I love that ETF flows, in my eyes, are still relatively tame. We're still seeing most of the flows come in through IBIT, which to me, a lot of that is the basis trade. Google Trends basically flat. Nobody cares about crypto here. Nobody's talking about it. Funding also very, very tame, which I love to see. Seasonality, May's okay. June is a little bit of a challenging month. So if I had to bet on it blindly today, I would expect bullishness for the rest of the month. And I would expect a bearish June. Whether or not we see that, I don't know. But if I had to pick on what to do just based on seasonality, it would focus on thinking about taking profits into the end of the month, preparing for June. We are a little overbought on the daily cloud relative to the key June on BTC. We still have rates that are an issue in the US. The 10-year continues to just creep up. We had a downgrade on debt. Who knows if that's going to matter this week? Theoretically, gold should do well, Bitcoin should do well. What we actually see, who knows? I'm recording this before futures open, so we'll find out later tonight. We still have some tariff stuff. Obviously, I think the worst of it is over personally. And QT continues, which just means for alts, they're going to struggle to hold on to their levels, hold on to their highs. They will do well if Bitcoin continues to do well. They will attempt to outperform BTC. But if you're sitting in alts, just like if you're sitting in leverage, if we just cut to the chase here, if we think about benchmarks, beta, and leverage beta, if you're sitting in beta or leverage beta in CHOP or in an unclear, non-trending environment, you can't expect outperformance. Where you can expect outperformance is some sort of lead lag relationship where Bitcoin maintains bullishness and all this other stuff does well. What do I like today on a week-to-week basis as a trader? I don't like leverage beta here. I don't like beta. There's some minor charts that look good. We'll talk about those. But a lot of this stuff has already moved. A lot of the alts that looked good 2-3 weeks ago have already moved. ETH being one of them. Sol being one of them. Sol's got a little bit room to go, but a lot of these meme coins, like most of the meat on that bone, for me as a trader that I care about in the near term, I got to keep caveating that, looks to be done in the near term. MSTR also a great example. We'll take a look at that chart. I don't think there's much there for me right now in the near term. Now, if you're a 3 to 6 month, how dare you sell the most thermodynamically sound stonk we've ever seen, then stay long and strong, baby. What do I care? But technicals on MSTR are leaning a little bit back to neutral. And I don't really like leverage beta unless I have a specific setup. And I don't really see much of that across the board. ETFs last week, still down week over week for BTC. We're not seeing continuous $500 million, billion-dollar weeks. It's clearly seeing flows here that are positive. ETH just sort of, existing, nothing really going on there still. So in the long term, I think it's fair to be bullish on this still. Some people are going to say, well, we're at highs and we're seeing declining ETFs, so that's a bearish divergence. That's fair, but would I be bearish here? No. Would I be in cash here? Net? No. It just doesn't make sense to me. Upside, still seems fairly significant here across the board for crypto. Looking at Google Trends, Bitcoin in the blue here, this is 5-year worldwide. This is a multi-month low. I mean, this is not things you see at the end of a trend. It's not some blow off top in Google Trends. ETH and Solana also down there, fairly low. If we take off BTC, both of these are quiet, tame, nothing, right? We're not seeing crazy spikes in retail searches. And you can say, well, why would people be searching for this if they already know what this is? It's not like, what is Ethereum? It's more about, are people searching the name for any reason, for news, for price, whatever. We're not really seeing that, for ETH and Solana here. On the interest rates real quick, the only thing I care about, literally the only thing, you're going to get doomers in your ear talking about all sorts of soft data, all sorts of everything, right? There's literally an infinite list of stuff, PPI, ISM, whatever, inflation. The only thing the Fed seems to care about here is the inflation rate. Until the inflation rate looks like it's headed to 5%, I think they're unlikely to move. Clearly, Bitcoin doesn't care. Clearly, the markets don't care where rates are right now because we're still where we are. We're still very near all-time highs on everything. So for rates to come down would be an admission that things don't look so good. So we probably don't want rates going down. And until the unemployment rate spikes, I wouldn't expect rates to come down. For funding across the board, this is Bitcoin. Look at where it is today versus where it was last time we were at this price versus where it was at the beginning of 2024. This is nothing. This is super tame. Not a lot of people leveraged up here. Again, not something you see at the end of a trend. We're just not there yet. ETH, same deal, flat, quiet. Yes, this can pull back 50% from here. I don't care. But this is not euphoria. This is not a market that is over leveraged. That's not what we're seeing. Solana, same deal. Look at where it was November 24, November 23, March 24. Funding is very, very low. Seasonality wise, I said June. If we look at post-COVID, things tended to change here because pre-COVID, we had a string of negative Januaries. Post-COVID, everything's bullish except 1 month. Q1 post-COVID, to me, just eyeballing it, looks more bullish than pre-COVID. Q2 actually looks more bearish post-COVID than pre-COVID. Good news is July tends to be a bullish month. August, September, not so much. In October, the Chad. So if I had to position myself solely based on seasonality, it would be lighten up the book into June, buy the lows in June, have a good old party time in July, deeply lighten your load August, September, and get ready to buy back in towards October. That's what seasonality says. So we still got some time in the near term, but I'd be careful with June. Now, of course, June could be positive. Who cares, right? Post-COVID, we've only had one positive June, so I'd be careful on that front. This is the COT data. It's not as confusing as it sounds. It is looking at the positioning of the type of person. So are you retail? Are you institutional? Or are you commercial? Are you a miner? Miners here are in red. You want miners on your side. This is not about the basis trade. This is not about anything else other than the back testing. That's all that matters here. So you can talk about anything you want. Jason Shapiro, obviously the king of this stuff, has talked about this for decades, as have other people. This isn't something new just to BTC. Retail's usually wrong. Institution, hedge funds usually wrong. So if commercials are the longest they've ever been, and retail is the shortest they've ever been, retail in the yellow here, this is a massive tailwind for us. Hedge funds also net short here, which is good. The people we want to be wrong are on the opposite side of the long trade. And if you'll notice, pre-election, miners were long. Into ETFs and post-ETF approval, miners were long. And there were some little moves here where miners were long. So until miner positioning starts to come off, to me, that's just default bullishness. I don't care what price is. I just don't care. This is just backtesting. This is what we've seen. This is based on positioning. If retail starts to unravel, if hedge funds start to unravel, their positioning, that's what helps push price higher. Once that is done, and look at March 2024, April 2024, once the unwind and positioning is done, this is the argument, watching this data, is that, okay, that's the top. That tends to be what you see. So that's a good little data point for BTC. As far as trend goes for Bitcoin on the pitchfork, still look fine. We're well within the bounds of what we could expect. I would feel better as a trader if we got a pullback. I'd feel better. Nothing up here that's screaming bearish. I would love to see some sort of inverted head and shoulders cup and handle thing where handle yet to be formed, right shoulder yet to be formed with a neckline at about 105 to 108, whatever. If we see that even into Q4, that to me is a load the boat on everything, max leverage, full account. Here, that doesn't quite make sense to me, just because we've already moved up 40% from the lows. That isn't to say we can't move up again. We can't continue. It's just a confidence thing. Am I confident sitting in 1x BTC? Absolutely. Am I confident sitting in 10x BTC here? Not really. Not for me, not personally. But price looks great. Price relative to the pitchfork looks great. You can see we're in the band where you'd expect a normal market to pull back, but Bitcoin previously on 2 occasions has made an extension. That's the diag I've drawn out here. There's also some fib justification for 130 to 150. There's a pivot at 120 and 150 as well. So if for any reason within this quarter we get up here, I like that as a place to lighten the load on the spot side. This is the price relative to Kijun metric on the daily cloud. And this is the only thing, if I had to pick something that is more bearish than bullish, we're still very far away from the red line there on the chart. Historically, this can go higher. Certainly in blow off top 2021 situations, we can just go to infinity relative to some moving average. But it just says, again, be careful here. That's all it's saying. It's not saying we have to pull back. It's not saying we can't settle down for another week and then go again. It's just saying, be careful here because historically we are stretched. That's it. On the daily cloud, here's the visual version of the TKC clamp. We don't have a bear div yet on RSI. My guess is if we see a higher high here, we will get the bear div. I just don't know. You can let me know in the comments. Do we have enough momentum to keep us pushing highs? I just don't know. Based on all of the information I just said, retail clearly isn't here. This is something else behind this. Very spot-driven rally so far. And what would a cup and handle look like? It'd be something like that. I don't know if we'd go as deep as sub 95, but that would also fulfill the IHS people. And then you'd get a measured move similar to that 130, 150 area, I'd imagine. Yeah, 128, 144. Either way, we're setting up for a move higher. I think that's pretty clear. I would not want to be net short here at all. I wouldn't want to be in majority cash here, like I said. Looking at the Williams Fractal trailing stop loss is probably hard to see on the video, especially if you're on mobile, but the current trailing stop loss for the daily is at 1013. A daily close below that level says be careful. On backtesting, Williams Fractals do great on the daily. So until we're below that level, we party. And if we start to close below the Tenkin, this blue line, that's another warning signal that momentum has slowed down seriously. If we look at ETH, it's about what I'd expect. We hit the E and we stopped. Why we stopped, I don't know. I don't care. On backtesting, this is typically what happens. This is why when you get the move, you take it. You say, thank you, Mr. Market. Thank you, Mrs. Market. I appreciate it. The next trade to watch for is a bullish breakout with a bullish cloud. That may take you into Q4. I don't know. We could see it in Q3. I don't know. But we're not seeing it today. So I think this needs a little bit more time. There was a lot of like head and shoulders, diamond stuff as well on a lot of charts. You can even see it here. Like this is trying to break down. We'll see if it breaks down or not. I wouldn't want to be short. I wouldn't want to be mega long either. Not a lot of confidence here on direction for ETH other than it just needs more time. Sol similar. It probably needs a week or two. It does have a decent move left in it. It's clearly lagging ETH here, and the cloud is far from flipping bullish. Interestingly enough, I think there's a trade coming up here on Ripple. If this starts to break out, just a vanilla range break. If this can, just delete all this for a sec. If this can get a full bullish complement breakout, I like it. If and only if. Here, it's just in the range. There's nothing going on. It's just boring. Why sit in this when there's no momentum? Why sit in leverage beta when it doesn't make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. DOGE has pulled up quite a bit. It had a low time frame falling wedge that's trying to break out of. So that chart still looks fine to me on the daily. I don't really see issues here. It's just a matter of what are you willing to sit in? Where's your personal stop loss? What do you want to do here? Some people are still loaded in alts. I know they are because they're asking me questions about ENA, for example. I've probably gotten 15 questions about my ENA trade. I still like this trade. I think it's a great idea, but I'm willing to eat this for 3 to 6 months. this has not, in my mind, gone anywhere just yet. Started to break out, pulled back. If I'm on 10x leverage, if I'm on 5x leverage, I have a very tight stop here. For anything making a lower low, I'm out. That's it. It's enough, right? But I still think this has plenty of room. I still like Sol BTC. I still like Maker BTC. This chart, to me, looks like it has plenty of room. It could take 3 to 6 months. I don't know. But I'm willing to eat that in the moment. Maker BTC, same deal. This thing looks wild to me. But this takes time. It spent months setting up and bottoming. It's not going to just pop overnight. You know, it's going to take probably 3 to 6 months. What you don't want to see is you don't want to see this chart making any new lower lows. Any new lower lows, and I'm out personally. I just like how this looks. So for the most part, most of these charts have already moved. Some of them on their way. And in altcoin land, to me, I don't really see much to do. There aren't really many setups here that are for me based on my trading style, based on my time frame. I just don't see too much of anything. Pepe, again, still needs more time before I start to care about it again. We're not above the cloud yet. We don't have a bullish cloud. Okay, it's just not for me. That's it. You know, I got what I came for, and I wasn't looking for anything else. So on the alt side, it would kind of make sense if we didn't do anything for like a week, and then we went insane towards the end of the month, and then June was just a disaster. That would kind of make sense to me. Moving on to legacy here, this is MSTR. MSTR did trigger a daily trailing stop loss with a close below the Williams fractal on Thursday. I'm fully out of this. I'm fully out of all my leveraged MSTU, my CONL, all that stuff. You know, if you think this is going to go to 800, what do you care? Fine. That's fair. Still has another 2x in it. I just think I can get a slightly better price here. And I could be wrong. Just had a great move over the past couple months. It does have some competitors that are nipping at its heels for attention with all these other blockchain, Bitcoin treasury companies that are popping up. SMLR is one of those companies. It looks quite ugly on the weekly. You could probably draw this inverted head and shoulders a couple ways, but on the weekly, it's ugly. Now on the daily, it starts to get interesting because it is in the cloud here. Now it did have a massive day Friday, and that has helped because before that it wasn't in the cloud. So to me, I don't really care if it took a 25% daily candle to get in the cloud. Okay, that's something I'm going to continue to watch here. I didn't pull the trigger on Friday. I'm going to see how it looks throughout the week, but this is something that looks as though it has some left in the tank. Let's say 37 to 55. That would be a great trade to think about. WGMI is another one where if we're in the laggard bucket, will we get a low that's tradable here? I don't know, but there is clearly cloud edge to edge stuff that is happening. Similar to, this is leveraged IWM, TNA. Kind of a similar look, bullish TK cross, price in the cloud for a few days here now. Inverted head and shoulders-ish. Right shoulder, maybe yet to be formed. Maybe we've seen enough here. So there's a lot of this type of chart floating around. Coin is again one that I would not triple, quadruple down here. That's just me. I would wait for the cloud to flip fully bullish. That may happen this week. It may happen next week. I got what I came for. It's good enough for me. It has a little bit left in the tank on the target, but as a fresh entry up here doesn't quite make too much sense to me. I'd prefer to let that one settle down. Hood is another version of a chart that we're seeing here where you're pushing all-time highs, basically. There are quite a few of these charts out there. And the question is, again, are we going to see this cup and handle stuff or not? Are we going to see a pullback here or not? Now, you could just play this as a vanilla breakout, or you could just say, you know what, it's 2x'd from the low. I'm just going to wait, and maybe you don't get an entry. But the cloud does like this here. It has been bullish for a couple days. I just think it's personally, you can let me know in the comments. I just think it's tough to long this at 56 to 60 when it's coming off of 30 in April. But on trend, it looks great. Coin Hood, and these weird, like, even SMLR, MSTR, this, I think, favors Coin a little bit just because, let's say this is a bottomy fractal, maybe, you know, a falling wedge or something. But maybe it's something you continue to watch going into the end of the year. But Hood has clearly eaten Coin's lunch here since 2024. And then there's Schwab, which to me, if I had to pick one, Coin, Hood, Schwab, what's another one? I don't even know. If I had to pick one, this is the one I'd pick. Still looks great, pushing highs, looks ready for all-time highs. I don't know if this happens this month or in Q4, but it still looks great to me as a setup. Now here's the SPY, and again, it's like, what? right? Like, what do you do here? Everything looks bullish on trend. I'll give you that. But as a fresh entry, I think that's insane. Now, the reason this keeps going up is because of positioning. It's because of sentiment. Very few people were positioned for this and still likely aren't positioned for this. So I don't really know what you do here, honestly. I mean, the conservative trader in me says wait for a right shoulder, wait for a pullback, maybe 570. But if this thing just keeps going, it's the same with BTC, right? Can BTC push 108? I don't know. Can the SPY push 620 here? I don't know. I really don't know. And the Qs are the same. What do you do with this? What do you do with this? This is a huge bounce. This is not an altcoin, right? What do you do here? I don't know. I really don't know. I think you just wait. You either DCA, knowing that you could possibly see downside, maybe to 490 or something, fill that gap. DCA, and then you get filled on the rest of your stack that you wanted to get in the market here with a chart like this. But that is a tough, fresh position up here. And just as risk markets are mooning, gold has settled down a lot. We probably see a bearish TK cross here on gold this week, which just says if you're in from 2,500 and you're playing from level to level, that would be the last pit stop to get off the train. That isn't to say it can't keep going. This is no statement on fundamentals or dollar or trade or uncertainty or downgrades of debt. That has nothing to do with any of that. This is just purely technicals. You're just trading this from level to level, just as you were to get in July 2024 and get out in November, December 2024. That's it. That's all it's saying. So I don't personally like gold here as a trade, and I certainly don't like TLT, which looks like a descending triangle here, until you see some intervention, whether that's QE, yield curve control, whatever it is. I just wouldn't expect TLT to do well. I wouldn't trade the long bond. It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's good for risk. It's good for risk, honestly, because when those bond ETFs started to look good on technicals, that's when risk assets pulled back quite a bit. Some more setups here, random, just completely random. This is home builders. Why would home builders do well here with interest rates on mortgages at 7.5%? I don't know, but you've got IHS plus EDE. Sure, right? That's a trade you could take. You got Chipotle. That's IHS plus EDE. That's a trade you could take. Not great upside, but it's a trade. If you're looking for stuff to do, if you're bored, if you're looking for stuff to do, those are some options. And then this is the other side of the coin, similar to Hood and Palantir. This is Progressive Insurance, clearly an inverted head and shoulders here, bullish TK recross, price above cloud. This is everything you're going to want in a setup. And this pushing all-time highs makes a lot more sense to me than SPY, Qs, BTC, just because it is consolidated at this level for several months now, got challenged, and it's back at the level. So this looks good for bullish continuation to me. And Costco's another one. Had a head and shoulders, didn't break down, tested the trend, and now it's bullish again. Fully bullish. Bullish cloud, bullish TK cross, and this measures to 12, 1300. Looks great. Looks really good, regardless of PE or any fundamentals that are going on here. Trend looks great. XLU is another one. Back at all-time highs. It got challenged. I was playing this as an inverted head and shoulders and just ate it on the downside, and we're back basically near all-time highs again. So that chart looks great. Apple 4-hour inverted head and shoulders. Setups abound here, just not in crypto. Crypto sort of beat everything else. It moved ahead of everything else. I don't even like Apple. I don't like the products. I don't like the company. But technicals here do look favorable for a move higher. Uber's another one. That's an all-time high. This measures to 106, 124 minimum. Looks great. There's something going on with EVs and AI and energy still. It's still going on because Tesla had the move it had. Lucid looks good. RIVN looks good. Lyft, I talked about. This chart looks great. New all-time high. Tesla, to me, the meat on that bone is picked. Just like alts, you got your move. Okay, for me, that'd be enough. I would say wait until this flips fully bullish. Let it chop around, do whatever it wants to do. But it's probably going to need some time to reconsolidate. It's unlikely, but not impossible, is just continuation to 460. I think that's silly to expect that if you got this move from 280 to 350. You should be happy with that. Here's Lucid. Not something I'm trading, just watching. I've been watching it for a while. These companies could go to zero, right? There's kind of no reason that they still exist, but ultra high time frame trend still leans bearish. But if this can pull up And I'll throw in the quantum stuff, which we'll take a look at in a second. Maybe it's just general retail sentiment that's flipping this stuff. AI, EVs, quantum. But these are tradable levels to me on Lucid. I think RIVN looks insanely good as a setup. I love that this thing has done nothing for years and has finally started to push local higher highs. The cloud on the 3 days starting to flip bullish. I think this upside here is insane. Whether or not it actually hits any of these levels, I don't know. Again, this could go to zero, but just risk reward here looks very, very skewed towards the long side to me. This is Quantum, the Quantum ETF, QTUM. Looks incredible, right? Like there was a lot of noise about this stuff when crypto was moving. It's the same type of people trading this stuff. It's retail. Not that there's anything against that. It's just that's where the markets are moving at the same time. Why did Tesla move the same time Pepe moved, right? Why did this move in 2024 the same time BTC moved? It's the same type of sentiment that's going to take these prices higher. So this is sitting in a very interesting place. I think I have RGTI. I hear Rigetti. The chart looks good. The chart looks really good. Now you'd want the cloud to be bullish here to be max long, but this thing had an insane breakout and has consolidated since December and is back at pushing highs. So that's what you want to see. You do not want to see something pushing lows. At least I don't. I don't like buying weakness. I like buying breakouts. I like buying continuation. I like seeing strength. I do not like seeing weakness. And then lastly, this kind of fits in all the buckets with like meme, retail, BTC treasury. Just something to probably put an alert on. Around 185 is KULR. Maybe you get a tradable edge to edge here. Maybe you don't. A little early on this one. So all in all, there's lots to do. To me, not too much in crypto. I think crypto is going to need some time. We may or may not see a pullback that's connected with legacy pulling back here, but there's plenty of stuff to do. It's just, to me, not in crypto. That's all I have for this one. Give me a like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.